Hi everybody, today I'm going to show you some of the most commonly used keyboard shortcuts in Photoshop. I do a lot of sublimation design work and I use these every day, all day long. The first keyboard shortcut I'm going to show you is the F7 key. So what that does when you click it, nothing. It'll bring up the layers palette for you. If the layers palette is in your way, if you're using your full canvas workspace here and you want that out of your way, you just hit F7 and it temporarily hides it for you. So you bring it back. So you can see we're working with a transparent layer here right now. We're going to add some more layers. The keyboard shortcut to add a new layer is Control Shift N. When you click on that, it comes up with a little dialog box here and it asks you for a name for the layer. If you don't feel like putting a name in there, you just click OK and it'll go with the default, which is the numbered layer or whatever order, whatever comes next in the order of layers. So here it is, layer 1. We'll do it again, Control Shift N. It'll come up layer 2. We'll call this one test layer. Okay, so now we have 3 empty layers here. Let's click back in our first layer. I'm going to get our pen tool. I'm using the curvature pen tool. I'm going to draw a small heart. And I'm not a very good drawer, but I'll straighten it up in a bit. So with the curvature pen tool, wherever you double click, it gives you a corner. So we'll do that at the bottom as well. Okay, so it's not a bad little heart. So I want to get the selection for this heart, so I'll just click on one of the nodes here and I'll right click and I'll say make selection. Feather radius is 0, just hit OK. Alrighty, so I want to fill that in with a red color. Currently our default foreground color is set to orange. So another keyboard shortcut that's very handy is to toggle off and on your color picker. So just hit F6. And you can choose whatever color you want. I'm going to go with a pink color. I'm going to hover my mouse back over my heart selection. You can see that I still have the curvature pen tool selected. Instead of going all the way over to the left hand side to the tool palette to get the flood fill tool, I'm just going to hit G. And it changes it to the paint bucket. Now I can just click in here and fill in my heart. Another very handy keyboard shortcut is Control D, and that will deselect whatever you have selected. Okay, it takes it away. Okay, so another thing that I'm going to do now is hit Control T, and that puts you into transform mode. Up top here you have all your text boxes that you can type your values into, and you also have your abort button and your accept button. So what this does, it enables you to resize your selection, whatever's inside there. Right now the contents of layer 1, which is this pink heart, is inside the transform box. So I can just grab the handle here and I can size it up or down. Okay. If I wanted to make this narrower than it is now, and keep the same height, I would have to hit my shift key and I can just drag it in or drag it out. I can make it wider or narrower or whatever. If I take the shift off and I drag it in, it's going to do it proportionally. Okay. So we'll accept that transformation. It's good enough. Okay. So the next thing that we can do with the keyboard here is we can copy and paste. So to copy this, let's just hit M to select it. Sorry. We'll hit Control C and Control V. When you hit Control V, it pastes it directly in the center of the document. Let's hit undo. So another keyboard shortcut that we all use quite frequently around here is Control Z. That undoes the last action that you did. If you want to redo the action, you decide that you undid it and you wish you wouldn't have, you just hit Control Shift Z and that'll do it again. But we're going to undo it. So because we hit Control C on this selection, that means it's still in the clipboard. So I want to paste it, but I don't want to paste it in the center of the document. I want to paste it directly over top of the one that I have already created. So to do that, you hit Control Shift V instead of just Control V, and it pastes it directly on top. Okay, so I'm going to grab that now, still select it there, and I'll move it. Okay, so let's say I want to make a group with these two objects. So I would select layer 2, hold your Control key, and click layer 1. Now you have 2 layers selected. You hit Control G, and that'll paste them into a group. You can rename your group just by double clicking on it. I'm not going to bother with that right now. So now up top here, auto select is not on. I'll turn it on. Right now it says layer. So if I click off of that and I click here, I just grab one of the elements of this group. Okay, so I'll click off of it again. I'll change this to group. Now when I click it, it selects both of them. So I changed my mind. I don't want this in a group. So what I do is I make sure the group is selected, and I hit Shift Control G, and that takes it out of the group. Okay, I'm just going to select the second layer with the second heart that I made. My color picker is already here. I can toggle that off and on with the F6 key. I'm going to make this heart orange. Now, instead of going over there and having to get the flood fill tool, I'm just going to hit G and fill her in orange. Okay. I'm going to make another copy. So I'll select that layer. I'll hit Control C. This time I do want to paste it right in the center of the document, so I'll just hit Control V. Okay. If I hover my mouse over this heart now and I just hit W, brings up my magic wand tool. So what the magic wand tool does, it selects anything that's of the same color value. There's a tolerance level here. I had it set really high earlier. I'm going to set it back to the default, which I think is 32. Contiguous is checked, and that means that it won't select anything outside the bounds of this that color range. So I'll just click in here. Now I'm going to get another color. I'm going to make it a blue heart, I think. Okay, yeah, blue. I'm going to hit G and click on the flood fill tool. Okay. So now I'm going to hit Control T again, and I'm going to move this up here. I'm going to click on my layer 1, and I'll move, whoops, I didn't want to flood fill that. I'm going to hit D. I didn't deselect the heart. There's still a little marching ants around this heart, so I'm going to hit Control D, and that'll deselect it. So I'm going to move this red heart, pink heart up here, and I'm going to move this one up here. Now you can see that my layers palette is in the way, so I'm going to hit F7, and that'll move it out of the way. So I'm going to get my magic wand tool again on this pink heart. I'm just going to hit W, and when I click inside here, it'll give me that selection. Now if I go into Select, Modify, Contract, I'm going to contract that selection by 20 pixels. So that goes in and gives me a little small border. So what I want to do is I want to get rid of this inside bit here. Okay. So I can just hit delete here. Or if I want to keep that part there and just get the outside bit, let's just hit Control Z to undo. I can invert this selection. Let's bring up the layers palette again. I'm just going to turn the visibility off on these two layers. Okay, so to invert my selection, and by invert I'm almost like turning it inside out. Instead of having everything inside selected, everything outside will be selected. So to do that, the shortcut for that is Control-Shift-I. Now, I'm not sure if you can see it or not, but the selection now entails everything from this selection and the heart out to the borders of the document. So I'm going to hit Control-C, and I'm going to hit Control-Shift-V, and that'll give me a copy of the outside border of this heart. So I'm going to turn off the visibility on the heart, and you can see that you just got the little border. Okay. So again, I'm going to right click on that, and I'm going to say Select Pixels. Now I'm going to get yellow. Nice bright yellow. I'm going to get my Flood Fill tool, which I get by clicking on the G key, and I'll click inside here. And it changes it to yellow. Okay, we'll turn the visibility back on these two hearts here. Let's say I didn't want the yellow. I want the orange color. I want the exact same orange color. I need to get my eyedropper tool. So eyedropper's over in the tools menu over on the left hand side. But instead of having to go all the way over there, I just hit my I key, and it brings up the eyedropper tool. So now I want to get this orange color. So now I hit my G, and I click, and now my border is orange. Let's do the same thing with the pink heart. Let's hit Control-D to deselect that. Okay, I want to get blue for the inside of the heart. So I just click on my eyedropper tool, click on blue, go back over, hit my G for my flood fill. Now my heart is blue and orange. So sometimes your document is really big and you need to zoom it in or out depending on what you're doing. I'm going to turn off the layers palette by hitting my F7 key. I'm going to turn off my color picker by hitting my F6 key. And I'm going to zoom right in on this. So the keyboard shortcut for zooming in is Control+. Control+++. So that zooms it in for me. If I want to zoom back out, I can hit Control-. Sometimes you want to get really, really close up. Sometimes you want to see what it's going to look like at 100% to see if the resolution is high enough for the purpose that you're doing the graphic for. When I'm doing tumblers, I always make sure that I got them at 300 dpi. And sometimes I have graphics and I need to stretch them out a bit. So sometimes I'll zoom in and I'll just go Control+++. Okay, and you can see our current document now is showing at 100%. So if I keep clicking Control+, now I'm at 200%. So that's magnified 2 times. So you can see it's a little jaggedy around the edges. So if I can Control-, I'm back to 100%. You can see here that it's still a little jaggy, and we can fix that. Just bring up your layers palette again, F7, and we are going to right click on this, select pixels. Now I'm going to modify the selection. I'm going to bring it in a little bit. Select, modify, contract, not by 20 because this is 20 pixels wide. We're going to go about 5. We'll contract that by 5 pixels. So you can see almost all of it is selected, but not everything. So I want to get rid of the few pixels around the outside of this heart because they're showing up underneath and outside of this border that I've created. So what I need to do here, I need to hit Control-Shift-I, and that will invert the selection. So now everything, let's turn off this for a second. Everything between this selection and the edge of the document is within that selection. So when I hit Delete key, it takes it out. So if I turn this border back on here now and hit Control-D to deselect, I can zoom in again, Control plus, and we're at 200%. There's no jaggedy edges around the border here. So let's move back out again. So there's hundreds of different keyboard shortcuts. Depending on what type of work you're doing in Photoshop, you would use different keyboard shortcuts. If you're subscribed to Adobe Photoshop through Creative Cloud, you can log into their website on Adobe, and it gives you a great big list of different keyboard shortcuts. This is the one that I downloaded. I have a link in the description below of how you can get a 30-day free trial of Photoshop. So if you want, you can check that out. So it's a very long document actually. There's hundreds and hundreds. So there's even a table of contents there. So if you want to learn the shortcuts for some particular task that you're doing, it's all there. But the ones I showed you are the ones that I most commonly use. I use them, like I said, every single day, and they certainly speed up my workflow quite a bit. So I invite you to get a free copy of Photoshop and play with it for 30 days and follow along with this video and practice and learn these keyboard shortcuts, and you won't be sorry you did so. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, and subscribe to my channel so that you can get more notifications when I post new content. Thanks. Have a great day.